Hey guys, today we're doing Exmortis. I know it's a little, corny. I mean, why am I doing something from 2008, 2007? Why not something more current? Well, oldies are goodies. And quite frankly, I enjoy it. And I hope you do too. Besides, this is what Resident Evil could have been had it been directed by whoever the hell made this thing. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope this scares you as much as it scared the hell out of me. I really do.
Scenes of unimaginable violence and carnage have dominated television sets around the world.
The hordes of Exmortis swept across the earth, a plague unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. In their final stand, a handful of mankind's last survivors stood their ground, defiant of their inevitable fate. And in those last moments, as death took these brave souls, a stranger passing in the distance put his plans in motion. Chapter 1. Where's your god Father in Christ, can save us and tears. Bloody feet. Entering the booth. The statue of Christ is hanging. It said the evil can't enter the church. Well, that's not entirely true, as we're about to find out.
Mr. Hannay, please sit, for my time here is limited. I take it the battle didn't go as planned. An unfortunate inevitability, I'm afraid. Nevertheless, it has aided and allowed me the passage I required to make contact with you. The Exmortis know you're here, so I must be brief. All might seem lost to you in this dark hour, however, I am here to bring you hope when you have none.
Good, so
I
if you
have
just give
here
me a
with me a
shotgun,
parchment
I'll
which you will do well to read carefully. The knowledge within its pages will shed light on your path towards removing the scourge and allowing mortal man to begin rebuilding. I don't doubt that you are wondering if I am trustworthy or not. However, at this point, neither you nor the remaining fragments of humanity have anything left to forfeit. I'm afraid mankind's fate rests on your next course of action. For your sake, I hope you make the right choice.
That was both ominous and surprisingly unhelpful. So I wonder what we're going to find on the other end. Shotgun, chain gun, machete. I at least hope it's a pistol. Well, let's look, shall we? Of course. Just a book. One night I dreamed. A darkness once dormant, patiently waiting, was now emerging from the shadows. Okay, just real quick. I wrote a story called Dreamer, which is pretty much based off of this right here. A long time ago, I played Exmortis 2, and it gave me an idea for a story. Now, that story lay dormant for a good 3 to 4 years, but eventually gave over to Dreamer, which is now on fictionpress.com if you guys want to read it. And near the end of this, I'll show you the link Okay, I'll be right there. A darkness once dormant, patiently waiting, was now emerging from the shadows, a light growing brighter from beyond a dark chasm, wrapping around a pillar stained with ancient symbols. Many millions of shrieks and screams engulfed me where I stood until I felt the burn rise up from the floor and it too consumed me. My soul, ripped from my shell, was flattened and became a pathway. It became a link between the ancient world and my reality. Unspeakable monstrosities crossed over and began devouring every living thing. And then a fiend of unspeakable size and malevolence looked at me and smiled as he crossed into my world. He introduced himself as the ancient of the Exmortis, Lao. I could see myself, a tattered, broken man, suddenly imbued with an insatiable power. I felt a sudden drive to destroy all that I knew and return to it all how it used to be before light and life. I saw myself become the hand of Exmortis. I saw what was, what is, and what will be. I then saw a strange dagger plunge deep into me, a man holding it, a mere mortal, and something else in the shadows. But then the darkness took me as I fell to my knees and the pathway crumbled. My soul lost forever. I don't dare to dream again for fear of what other horrors await. Property of Lokier Fields Ranch. I will be right back. So, I'm going to show you the story that I based off of this. And, well, I'm not going to read it, but, well, that'd be telling. I'll be right back. so sorry about that. Okay, how am I doing on time? Okay, 4:29, so good. Okay, so let's get this done. Look here. Oh, that's not good. Aha. Now, normally when the clouds come to get you, you die. Yeah, it's scary, but come on. I'm not going to die in my first playthrough. Xavier's Legacy. Well, let's see. Let's try 8, 3. Hey, it worked. I didn't even know that was going to work, but okay. I guess it worked. Yeah. Okay, 3, 2, 8, 3, 1. Yeah, I don't get Sudoku. I really don't. It's okay, let's see. Nukes failed to stop the Exmortis. UN war offensive backfires. UN consolidated world army offensive against the main front of the Exmortis was declared a failure. First sign of failure came at 5:45 a.m. when contact with ARD indicated 100% casualties of the Bio Division. Wow. State of anarchy, Washington in flames, martial law, major cities under siege, mass murder. $500 killed as township of New Hunter burns. Ugh. The military is utterly, Lord have mercy. Well, I got digging around the dusty old cellar today and came across a whole heap of old leather-bound books with each and every page blank. So I thought to myself I might as well put one of them to good use. I guess I got myself a new diary to use. It's quite remarkable how good the condition of the books are, and considering how old they look. It continually surprises me about the amount of handy items I find in this place. I know this place has been under the care of my relatives for over 100 years, but you would think that in the time someone would have taken the time to go through all the old crap from the previous occupants. In any case, the unpacking process is almost complete. It still seems a little weird that my wife and kids and I are now living in old Uncle Charlie's ranch. It's been years since I last set foot in this place where he passed on. Charlie and I never really got on so well, so it was certainly a surprise to find out he left this place to me as well. I wonder what he meant by only you can understand the ranch, and if you can at first, you'll learn to. It certainly seems like a last little cryptic jab at me from beyond the grave. Anna is settling in okay. Had to do a hell of a lot of talking her around into. Had a lot of talking around her. Blech. Anna's settling in okay. I had to do a hell of a lot of talking her around into. Okay, I'm gonna assume around here doesn't exist because around into moving does not make sense to me, at least from a grammar perspective. Okay, let's do this over. Anna is settling in okay. I had to do a hell of a lot of talking her into moving away from the city. She wasn't going to go without a fight, but I think she's finally happy she broke away from her dead-end job and is kind of looking forward to the simpler life out here in the States. The kids are always keen for change, so it didn't take much coercion to make them see this as a fresh new start. I think the thought of having horses, cows, and chickens to look after made them forget that they'll be rooming together for the first few weeks until I can get the rooms at the end of the hall emptied out, cleaned, and converted to top-quality living quarters. Well, I got a lot of work ahead of me in the next few months, but I feel good. This is a good choice. Welcome change. Just Anna relaxes in her new home. I got a fair amount of work done today. I finally finished the fencing around the southern field, but the oddest thing happened as I was finishing up. I had a strange compulsion to look back at the house, and I could have sworn I saw someone watching me from behind the window in the room at the end of the hall. Anna and the kids were out running some errands, so that's why I make note of this as being odd. I just put it down and my eyes are playing tricks on me. A full day of hard work under the hot sun can play tricks at your mind. Anna still seems a little standoffish about the move. She's still not 100% convinced that we're making the right move here. I told her to give it some time and it will grow on her. Still, her stressful attitude is rubbing off on me. I snapped at Zoe today, which is very unlike me. She ran off to her room crying, and I went to apologize and explain that Daddy's a bit stressed with the move. She really didn't warrant my anger, and I felt bad about it for a while. She was all smiles after our little talk. The 6-year-old's mind enigmas me sometimes. February 3rd. It's been a strange few days. We had an old picture of a man and a girl hanging up near the front door. I don't know who they are or what purpose Uncle Charlie had with such an old portrait in the house lobby, but I felt it was time for something a little more modern. I took down the portrait and mounted the family photo we'd taken this past Christmas. I threw that old portrait in the cellar with all the other old junk I need to sort through and turned in for the night. I got up in the morning to walk to the kitchen and found that old portrait hanging up in the exact same spot which I'd removed it from, but no sign of the family photo I'd replaced it with. I did a bit of searching around the place without any luck, so I asked Anna and the kids about it, and they claimed they knew nothing about it. What really angered me was that when I went down into the cellar, I found the photo with its frame all smashed on the floor. I immediately brought it to everyone's attention. But still, no one admitted to the deed. I must admit I flew off the handle a bit, and once again, Zoe and Daniel both ran sobbing to their rooms again. Such disregard for authority in my house will not be tolerated. I shouted at them as their little legs bolted up the stairs. Claire just sat in the living room, glued to the damn idiot box TV. Kids. I replaced the frame for the Christmas photo and remounted it to the wall in the lobby, once again discarding the old portrait to the cellar. But this time I locked the damn door and strung the key around my neck for safekeeping. It's the damnedest thing. The next morning, I got up to find the old portrait back on the wall, and once again the Christmas photo was back in the cellar, all smashed up. How is that possible? There's nowhere to keys cut for that door, and there sure as hell ain't a skeleton key for the place I know of. I don't have any remaining spare frames, so I guess the old portrait stays where it is for now. I swear, sometimes I think I'm losing my mind. February 12th. The local sheriff dropped by today, asking questions about if we'd seen anything unusual and if we'd seen any suspicious-looking people out of character for the area. I told him we had it. When I asked him what was wrong, he let slip that a neighboring settlement, a whole bunch of people were found dead, ripped to shreds by some frenzied assailants, were his exact words. Ah, fuck. I moved my family out of here to get away from that kind of shit. I found a clipping in the local paper about the murders in San Remi, 28 people dead. That's virtually the whole town. Demons from hell? What the fuck? I'd rather smoking some good crack over there, or the local God-fearing community has an overactive imagination. I finally got the energy and time to clear out the old desk and books from the room at the end of the hall, but I just couldn't get the door to budge open. The handle would turn, but no matter how hard I pushed at it, it just wouldn't work. I got tired of fighting a losing battle, so I put off the clean. So I put off the clean out of the room until later. I put off cleaning the room until later. Okay. I did manage to get the other room cleaned out and kitted up with Claire's bed. Okay, I'm just gonna stop for a moment. I'm messing up because. Alright, so if I were to write this, and I would rewrite it, I would write it so that it was consistent and coherent. But for me, it just doesn't feel. It doesn't flow well, you know? It feels like you wrote this in a damn hurry, and as such, it comes off as very hard to do. Very, very hard to do. Daniel and Zoe are still sharing the same bed, but hell, at 6 and 8 years old, it's not like there's going to be enough room in the same mattress for them. And in another first in this house, Anna and I made love this morning. I think she's finally coming around about the move. Although I do think the murders in San Raimi have left her shaken a little. Too close to home, I think. Thoughts of men, women, and children being mutilated like that chills me to the bone. People can be fucking animals sometimes. I woke up last night with a fright. Standing over Anna and I in our bedroom was Claire. She said she couldn't sleep, that a man kept sitting on the end of her bed, looking out the window. I told her she was just dreaming. Damn it, she's 11 years old and should be able to differentiate between fantasy and reality. I walked her back to bed, tucked her in, and sang her back to sleep. I was so half asleep at the time, but I could have sworn the stuck door at the end of the hall was open just a crack on the way to Claire's room. It didn't occur to me at the time to check on it again. All I wanted to do was to go back to bed. The 18th of February. More murders. Local news broadcasts mentioned that more people were mysteriously killed. Now a town further away has been hit and virtually wiped out just as San Raimi had. What is going on in this world for shit like this to happen? Out here, of all places. I didn't mention anything to Anna about the new lot of murders. There's no use in making her any jittier than she already is. Jitterier. Yeah. Besides, now she's finally relaxed a little. We're getting some sort of semblance of normality back in our sex lives. If anything, she's become a little more energetic and enthusiastic than she has ever been when it comes to that. Claire's still having problems sleeping. She keeps talking of a man sitting on her bed and looking out the back through her window. Anna and I are taking turns of babying her back to sleep each night. Anna's sure that with time she'll get used to her room and it won't be an issue for much longer. I certainly hope she's right. I could deal with an uninterrupted sleep for the first time in a while. Especially with the amount of work I'm doing during the day on the ranch. I need as much sleep as I can get to save my energy for dealing with the damn horses. I seem very spooked of late. Pattern of stubbornness that I can do with that. 23rd of February. The sunset was amazing today. It was the most beautiful pinkish red sky that I've ever seen. Anna and I sat on the front doorstep and toasted it with a couple of glasses of Chardonnay. Simply stunning. 24th of February. That damn door just won't move. I tried oiling it, removing the latching, chiseling the frame, and even kicking the fucking thing down. I'm getting over it very quickly. I'm this close to scaling the outside wall to break a window to climb in. Claire's taking a turn for the worse. Even though she's not complaining about her mysterious man on the bed, she has basically shut down. The most conversation I can get out of her is an occasional grunt, and she spends most of the day sitting in front of the television when she's not in school. She always looks so tired and unwell. If this continues for much longer, I'm going to have to take her to see a doctor. New Hunter. 500 dead. This is very concerning. These murders are not slowing up. If anything, they're increasing at an exponential rate. Police have no further information other than the assailants possibly being of some sort of satanic cult. It all sounds rather vague to me. I know it's selfish of me, but the only positive thing to come from this is that the spree of murders seem to be moving away from us here. But I know that doesn't make us safe. I cut the clipping out of the newspaper and put it in with the other I had from the original San Raimi killings. I don't know why I have this morbid fascination with these recent events. Maybe because it's so close to home. Something else I've noticed of recently is that the daytime sky isn't as blue as it used to be. almost purple in appearance at times. The sunsets of late are amazing, though. I'm starting to miss the familiar blue hue of the daytime sky. I spoke to Claire today and got a semi-coherent response from her. It's the first sustainable conversation I've had with her in quite a while. And I noticed that her bed seemed undisturbed last night, almost as if she didn't sleep in it. Anna convinced me to buy a gun today. I'm definitely not a gun person, which seems odd considering I'm running a virtual farm here. But for the protection of my family against these marauding killers, it seemed the only sane thing to do. I've heard numerous rumors about the killings that have been happening. People eviscerated and ripped limb from limb in their own house, out on the street, in backyards, wherever they happened to be when attacked. Even on the toilet. Poor souls. Diarrhea during a demon attack. On the crapper, and then you're dead. That's a horrible way to go. Very, very, very undignified. I even heard the attack that left Palo Alto completely depopulated, that the town literally painted in blood. I cannot even begin to imagine how this could happen. And I am even more surprised in the apparent complete lack of federal government response. No one can go within 10 miles of New Hunter without getting turned away by local law enforcement, so there's definitely some sort of investigation in there. I woke up very early this morning because I thought I heard a noise coming from the end of the hall. I picked up the gun and cautiously stalked from room to room, checking on everyone. Daniel and Zoe were fast asleep, but imagine my surprise when I got to Claire's room. She wasn't asleep in her bed. In fact, she was wide awake, sitting on the corner of her bed, just looking out the window to the back field. I approached her and put my hand on her head, which was soaked with an ice-cold sweat. She jumped, startled by my presence, and let out a shrill, high-pitched scream unlike anything I'd ever heard before me. All she could do was cower away from me against the wall and scream as loud as a banshee. The commotion woke everyone up, and soon I had Anna sprinting to my side in a dazed and frightened state. Okay. I think I know what's going on here. As a Christian myself, I believe in the existence of the devil. They inherited a house from their parents, and then the devil comes, and a horde of demons start killing everything. That child is screaming because she can see them. She can see them, and she's terrified. A gun cannot kill a demon. I know it's a work of fiction, but this is 100% real, people. In reality, there are trillions of demons trying to kill us. We can't see it because of flesh, but in the spiritual realm, it's a constant war. A constant war. I know it don't sound like it, but I'm frickin' terrified. All that blood. Children killed in their beds. Poor bastards. It took about 15 minutes to snap Claire out of whatever episode she had been having and return to her normal state. That's no episode. This girl is... When your soul sees a demon, when your spirit is in the presence of one, I pray none of you ever have to deal with it. There was a startling moment when I could have sworn I saw the reflection in the glass of her window of someone moving behind me in the shadows. Get out of that house now. Now. The devil has hold of it. The devil has hold of it. There just isn't something right about that room. We hustled Claire into Daniel and Zoe's room, where she spent the rest of the morning sleeping. Anna and I both decided we would move Claire's belongings out of that room and let her sleep with her siblings indefinitely. It would be tight and stuffy for them, but Claire seemed more happy to hear the news than me. 11th of March. The news has just come in. Los Angeles and San Francisco are under siege from these marauding killers. I am speechless as I write this, Everyone has been huddled around the TV downstairs for hours, watching report after report of the events. It's being reported there are thousands of people dead in just the space of a few hours. At least the military tried to hold out, went out fighting. Brave souls. It's said that when the devil finally comes to do his final battle, that God is going to throw him into the abyss and lock the door. He'll still be alive, but he'll be tortured for eternity. And that's something to look forward to. God's not the one killing people out there. God gave us free will. But what happens when that breaks down? What happens to us? I'm reading too much into it. I'm sorry. Anna has been trying to call her family in LA with no success. All lines of communication into the city seem to be down. I pray to God they're okay. Information on their well-being is scarce, so all we have to go on at that moment is what we see on TV. The broadcasts are apparently under restrictions as to the content they could show due to the graphic nature of the images and the government stepping in and blocking certain footage. But the descriptions of some of these creatures is more than frightening. They are not human beings, we are being told. No, they're not. Angels have been described with 4 heads, thousands of eyes, even eyes in between the wings. Why do you think the seraphim cover themselves when they go to God? Because as holy as they are, they will die in his presence. Demons are not human. They lack flesh, ripped to shreds, bleeding, screaming, horns in the eyes, the mouth spews horrible things. There are things that man was not meant to witness. I am not quoting Lovecraft. There are things that, if we are shown it, if we are told it, our minds will literally break. There is such a thing as Gehenna. Hell on earth. I went down to the local mall and bought a corkboard, which I've set up in Claire's old bedroom. I've started clipping articles and pinning them up there. I still remain morbidly fascinated by these events. More frightened than fascinated, I suppose, but to know thy enemy is the first step to defeating thy enemy. Well, that's what I've been saying to Anna to justify my new hobby. LA is a graveyard, and San Francisco isn't much better off at the moment. Millions of lives lost. The president made a statement today, but it was all rhetoric about defending our way of life and making sure justice would be served. Just another way of saying they are as scared, clueless on a course of action as we are. The military has been engaging these creatures most of the day. From reports I've seen, we aren't faring so well. The casualty rate is ridiculously high, but all military press conferences I've seen have been of a positive nature. Hopefully this isn't the war propaganda machine turning. Anna received word that her brother Joe got out alive, but it doesn't look good for the rest of her family. Her parents are smack bang in the middle of LA, so even if they managed to start the exodus of the city, these creatures would have been on them in no time. This is insane. Am I dreaming? We nuked them. I can't fucking believe it. We actually dropped a nuke on them, on our own soil of a residential land on the upper Pacific coast, after only 1 day of engaging the enemy. It's too early to know if it was effective, but just the realization of how completely worst-case scenario this must be for this sort of action to be taken, well, it just boggles the mind. Anna's brother Joe is driving here. He's going to stay with us for a while. I'm going to set him up in Claire's old room. Hopefully he won't suffer the same adverse effects that she bore from that strange filling room. But at this stage, considering what's happening, that room is the least of our worries. Well, we've just been advised that the nuke has not stemmed the flow of violence. In fact, I think the words that were used were completely ineffectual. Well, fuck. We're being told these things, which have been referred to as the Exmortis, have virtually wiped out most of our towns, villages, and cities along the Pacific coast and are heading north up into Canada and back east to our other coast. Well, seeing as Canada is mostly populated by the French, you poor sods, just love you. We've been lucky in that these things started off around this area somewhere. People are saying that Exmortis numbers, when they initially hit San Remi, were minute compared to the millions they now consist of. We were spared, but it won't be long before we see them coming back this way again. Oh Lord, please let us find a way of stopping these things before it comes to that. Joe arrived today. All he had was the clothes on his back and the car he came in. The stories he had to tell us were just dreadful. Even he only managed to escape the maelstrom. Apparently he got a frantic, garbled phone call from his and Nana's father telling him to get out of the city immediately, with no questions asked. He did exactly that, but he never heard from his parents again. All he could say was that his father sounded more scared than he'd ever heard. He could hear his mother sobbing and praying in the background all through the call. Joe must have choked out the words through tears at least a dozen times. At least they were together in the end. So, for those of you that are wondering, this is why I play Doom. Because I see in the Doom Slayer, Doom guy, I see the fact that I can finally do something. That if the war with hell ever comes to Earth, Lord forbid, at least I'll have done my part. But real life is not a video game, and you can't kill what you can't see. If our eyes could open, and we could truly see what's out there, we would see a blood-soaked nightmare. We would see angels and demons fighting constantly. We would see the dead cowering, protected in heaven, behind gates that can withstand anything hell throws at it. There are trillions of angels and trillions of demons. Revelation says that. And then I saw a fourth beast. Then I saw a fourth rider. And in its hand was a drawn sword with a red horse. And I heard the voice say, "Go." And it killed a third of the earth. And with its sword, devoured them. War. Famine. And death. When it comes to it, death will be thrown into the pit. And the other two. My brothers and sisters, those that are watching this, those that are of the faith, know that we are in a time that is very bad. The heat is being turned up metaphorically and literally. We are sir, we cannot say that we will not worship, because it is the power of Christ that holds back the darkness. We can only pray for those that have not received. And we could pray that their souls be saved, that they be changed. I can't read anymore. I just can't. I don't know. I don't know who you are. I don't know if you made the game for fun, or maybe you're just mentally disturbed, but you've done something that many horror films can't do. You have disturbed me, and you have made me question why I'm here. So, Leffler, whoever you are, congratulations. You know, I thought I could do the whole game all the way through, but there just comes a time that you gotta stop where you're at. I'm sorry, guys, I really